James Garner was born as James Scott Bummer on April 7, 1928 in Norman, Oklahoma. He was a much-loved American actor whose friendly personality, handsome looks, and natural acting made him one of Hollywood's biggest and most respected stars. Garner worked for more than 50 years in TV shows, movies, and voice acting, and he made a huge impact on American entertainment. His simple beginnings, hard work, and honest performances won the hearts of fans all over the world. Garner had a tough childhood because his mother died when he was young and his stepmother was mean to him, which made him leave home early. He dropped out of high school and joined the Merchant Marine near the end of World War II. Later, he served in the U.S. Army during the Korean War, where he earned 2 Purple Hearts. His real-life courage and strength would later show up in many of the characters he played on screen. He started acting in the early 1950s, almost by accident. After trying out modeling for a little while, Garner got his big break playing Brett Maverick in the popular TV show Maverick, which ran from 1957 to 1962. Unlike the usual quiet cowboys who were quick to shoot their guns, Brett Maverick was funny, charming, didn't like fighting, and would rather outsmart his enemies than use violence. Garner's performance changed what a Western hero could be and made him a superstar. People loved his character so much that even after he left the original show, the name Maverick always reminded people of Garner's smooth, clever, and lovable personality. Garner's movie career also became successful with important roles in films like The Great Escape in 1963, where he acted with Steve McQueen, the Americanization of Emily in 1964 with Julie Andrews, and the romantic comedy Move Over, Darling in 1963 with Doris Day. He showed amazing range, easily switching from comedy to drama, action to romance. In 1970, he played a serious and complicated character in I Never Sang for My Father, getting great reviews for his emotionally deep performance. One of his most famous roles came in Murphy's Romance in 1985 opposite Sally Field, which got him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, showing how talented and long-lasting his career was. However, maybe the most beloved role of his career was Jim Rockford, a relaxed, street-smart private detective in the Rockford Files from 1974 to 1980. This role made Garner a legend in TV history. The Rockford Files was groundbreaking, mixing action, comedy, and drama in a way that had rarely been done before. Garner's natural charisma and his portrayal of Rockford as a flawed but lovable regular guy really connected with viewers. The show won many awards, including Garner's own Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series in 1977. Throughout his career, Garner was known for being professional and having strong values. He often stood up for actors' rights and fought against unfair treatment in Hollywood. He filed a famous lawsuit against Warner Brothers in the 1960s for breaking his contract during Maverick, which he won, a rare and brave move for actors back then. This fight for fairness earned him deep respect from other actors and helped make things fairer for talent in the industry. Besides his acting work, Garner actively supported many charities and was devoted to his family. He was married to Lois Clark for almost 60 years, which is very rare in the entertainment business, and they raised 2 daughters together. Garner often avoided the spotlight and preferred a quiet home life, spending time with family or enjoying activities like golf and car racing. He was also a huge racing fan and co-founded the American International Racing Team in the 1960s, even racing cars himself. Later in life, Garner kept acting, notably starring in movies like Space Cowboys in 2000 with Clint Eastwood and The Notebook in 2004, where his touching performance as an elderly man devoted to his sick wife brought him a whole new generation of fans. The film's emotional depth and quiet power showed Garner's lasting ability to bring grace, dignity, and realness to his roles even in his later years. Despite being very popular and known for his warm, friendly, and sociable personality, James Garner was often described by people who knew him personally as humble and down-to-earth. He acted with a quiet modesty that didn't match his Hollywood fame. While his charm and easygoing attitude made him well-liked on film and TV sets, Garner was really a private person who carefully protected his personal life from the public. He believed strongly in keeping a line between his public image and his family, and he worked hard to make sure the attention from being famous didn't bother his home life. Friends and co-workers often said that even though Garner was always ready to share a laugh or tell a story, he rarely talked in detail about his private life, preferring to keep those things close to his heart. James Garner was married only one time in his life to Lois Josephine Fleischman Clark. How they met was like something from romantic movies. A chance meeting at a political party in 1956 quickly turned into a fast romance. The attraction between them was instant and strong. Garner often remembered those early days with happiness and a bit of humor. According to him, the couple went out to dinner together every night for 2 weeks straight. "We went to dinner every night for 14 nights. I was just absolutely nuts about her," he said in an interview, clearly still in love decades later. Their dating period was short but passionate, ending in their wedding just 16 days after they met on August 17, 1956. Garner, who was just starting to get established in Hollywood, admitted that the simple honeymoon he planned almost used up all his money. "I spent $77 on our honeymoon, and it about broke me," he joked, showing the kind of down-home humor that made him so beloved by fans. Despite how quickly they got together, their marriage would last for almost 60 years. Garner often compared marriage to life in the military, a comparison probably influenced by his own time in the Army. "Marriage is like the Army," he once said. "Everyone complains, but you'd be surprised at the large number of people who re-enlist." This funny but meaningful comment said a lot about his beliefs on commitment and sticking things out. It also hinted at his realistic view of relationships, that love isn't without its problems, but that the rewards of lasting companionship are much better than temporary hardships. Garner's wife, Lois, was Jewish, and while Garner didn't convert, he respected and embraced her beliefs. Their home reflected a mix of traditions and values based on mutual respect and a shared sense of humor that helped keep their bond strong through good times and bad. When James married Lois, he also took on a new role as a stepfather. Lois had a young daughter from a previous marriage, Kimberly, who was 9 years old at the time and bravely recovering from polio. Garner accepted the responsibility of helping raise Kimberly without hesitation, treating her as his own child and giving her the love and stability of a devoted father. A few years later, James and Lois had a daughter of their own, Greta Gigi Garner, born on January 4, 1958. Gigi would grow up to become a singer, writer, and animal rights advocate, and she often talked about the close and supportive relationship she had with her father. Garner loved both of his daughters and made his role as a parent a priority, often putting family time ahead of career opportunities whenever he could. James and Lois stayed married until his death in 2014, proving how strong and lasting their union was. However, their long marriage wasn't without its challenges. The couple had 2 major periods of separation. The first happened in 1970 and lasted about 3 months. The second, longer separation began in 1979 during the peak of Garner's career and lasted for about 2 years. During this time, James lived alone, splitting his time between Canada and a rented house in the San Fernando Valley. Despite the time apart, they never divorced and their bond proved to be unbreakable. In September 1981, James and Lois got back together, reaffirming their commitment to each other and staying together for the rest of Garner's life. Garner was honest in later interviews about why they spent time apart. He always emphasized that the separations weren't because of personal or marriage problems, but rather because of the growing pressures of his acting career. By the late 1970s, Garner was the star of The Rockford Files, a role that placed huge demands on him physically and emotionally. As the lead, he appeared in almost every scene of the show, and his workload was non-stop. Making things worse, he suffered from constant pain because of severe arthritis in his knees, as well as back and neck problems that had bothered him since a serious injury he got while doing stunts. The physical toll of the show, combined with the studio's pressure and long working hours, eventually became too much. When Garner walked away from The Rockford Files in 1979, it wasn't because he wanted to leave his family, but because he needed space to recover mentally, physically, and emotionally. "I just needed to be alone for a while," he later explained. It was a decision made out of necessity, not because they didn't get along. He used this time to rest, to think, and to heal from being exhausted from constantly being in the spotlight. Eventually, he found his way back, both to acting and to the woman he loved. Their reunion in 1981 marked the start of a quieter, more balanced time in Garner's life, one where he continued to work, but also placed even more importance on family and health. Through all the ups and downs, James Garner's relationship with Lois remained one of deep affection and unwavering loyalty. Their love story, while not without its difficulties, was based on friendship, mutual respect, and shared experiences. It is perhaps one of the lesser-known but most lasting legacies of a man who, despite all the glamour of Hollywood, never lost sight of what mattered most: love, family, and living with integrity. James Garner, the iconic actor known for his roles in Maverick and The Rockford Files, has been known for his quiet personality off-screen. However, in a rare and honest moment, he has finally broken his silence about his relationship with fellow actor Charles Bronson. The two men, both legends of Hollywood, worked together in the film The Great Escape in 1963, and their friendship, or lack of it, has been the subject of much guessing over the years. For decades, rumors and whispers about how they got along have spread around. Some reports said that the two had a hostile relationship on set, while others claimed they simply didn't get along. In his memoir, The Garner Files, James Garner briefly talked about his time with Bronson, but his comments were often mysterious, leaving readers wondering what really happened between the two. However, in this new interview, Garner offers his most detailed thoughts on the subject yet, giving insights that help us better understand their complicated relationship. Garner first met Charles Bronson during the filming of The Great Escape. At the time, both actors were still making their names in the industry, though Garner was already getting recognized for his roles in TV and film. Bronson, on the other hand, hadn't yet fully broken into the leading man status he would later achieve. Despite this, both men were known for their tough guy images, and on set, their characters had a clear bond as part of a group of Allied prisoners of war trying to escape a German POW camp. However, behind the scenes, things were less friendly. Garner remembers that Bronson, while being professional, was a quiet and reserved person, very different from the outgoing and easygoing Garner. This difference in personality led to an awkward atmosphere, with Garner admitting that he often felt disconnected from Bronson. According to Garner, Bronson wasn't one to make small talk, and his intense, serious behavior on set was very different from Garner's more lighthearted and friendly approach. Both men became famous for the tough guy image in Hollywood, but the way they approached their personas was very different. Garner, known for his roles in Maverick and The Rockford Files, often added humor and charm to his characters. He became famous for playing characters who were resourceful and witty, using their intelligence and quick thinking to handle tough situations. Garner believed that showing vulnerability and humor when facing hard times made a character more relatable and interesting for audiences. On the other hand, Charles Bronson's characters were the perfect example of toughness and seriousness. Known for his roles in gritty action films like Death Wish and The Mechanic, Bronson often played men who didn't talk much, had strong determination, and had a violent sense of justice. While Garner admired Bronson's dedication to his craft and his portrayal of hard-edged characters, he also believed that Bronson's approach to acting made him somewhat distant both on and off the set. This big contrast in their personalities added to the tension between the two, with Garner admitting that he sometimes found Bronson's seriousness hard to relate to.